a piece of me?
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Good morning, Vietnam! I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
You do. You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
What's up, film fans? Welcome to episode 279. Welcome to Goodwill Hunting, and welcome to a new episode. You're listening to the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. I am your host, Juan. I'm joined by the squad, the cast, the crew. Zach.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Edward.
What's up, folks? Doing all right today?
We're doing all right. What about you? How'd you guys got a good week? Happy hump day?
It's been pretty good so far.
Yeah, same boat. Couldn't agree
Calm.
You guys enjoying this heat wave?
Man, stifling.
No, I thought for a second we were in Oklahoma, but apparently we're in the tundra right now. So reporting
I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear anything about a tundra, a frozen tundra, anything to do with Wisconsin or cold air. I don't want to hear about it.
Folks, Johnny's just cranky right now because of what happened over the weekend. So,
trust me, I've been having to hear it from the recent addition to my employees. So
they can go to hell.
She.
But they.
Oh, my bad.
Better use the right pronouns, Eddie. You'll get canceled.
Anyway, last week we had a fun episode. We kicked off the year and kicked off the season with Whiplash. A fun conversation, an intense movie. This one was nearly not as intense as we talked about last week with Whiplash, but this week we're getting into Goodwill Hunting. It is the start to our Robin Williams. I don't know what you want to call it. What do you call it, Zach? This was your idea.
Say Robin Williams tribute year.
All 12 months, huh? Except for February. He doesn't get February.
We got some 2023 films to catch up on for February.
Do we?
I don't know, do we? Because it seems like it changes every day. So
no, February is going to be fun. We kick it off with Casablanca, a movie that is Zach holds it at turning this year.
155.
Close. Close. I think 85 years old, I believe.
God damn.
Yep.
But no, we have a fun episode. We're going to talk our top 5 fun episodes that we talked about last year, whether it be conversation pieces or just episodes that we enjoyed reviewing and just talking about. And then we're going to get into Goodwill Hunting. But if you guys did not join us last week, like I said, you can listen to last week's episode wherever you listen to podcasts. iHeart Radio, TuneIn, Stitcher, Podbean, Amazon Music, Spotify. And then you can join us on the social medias, facebook.com/the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. The Instagram is all one word, the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. X is at Cinemen405. And then the email is cinemen921@gmail.com. So yeah. Should be pretty fun. Ain't that right, Ed?
Oh, always, man, always.
Let's get into some recent watches or recommendations before we get into the top 5. Zach, we'll start with you. Do you have anything that you want to recommend or get off your chest?
Yeah. Mostly it's been TV wise. I did go see Soul. It's Pixar re-released it. They're doing like a re-release because of the films that got hit during COVID. So they're releasing Soul, Turning Red, and Luca in the theater just throughout the year. The Beekeeper, Jason Statham's movie, had a lot of fun with it. I highly recommend it. Monarch, Legacy of Monsters had its season finale on Friday. Cool show. I'm curious to see how this is going to tie into Godzilla times Kong, squared equals Empire. Reacher has its season finale this coming Friday. True Detective, the new season of True Detective, Night Country, had its season premiere this past Sunday. Should be an interesting season. Watch Kandahar, the Gerard Butler action movie. That was fine. Leave the World Behind. I finally got to see that on Netflix. Has a really good concept. I understand why the ending pisses a lot of people off.
Well, I don't understand. I'm glad you got to watch it. I hate when somebody says it was a good movie, but the ending was terrible. How is the ending terrible? It has the best payoff of the buildup leading for the main character.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I didn't hate the ending, considering I'm a fan of that particular situation.
You don't even have to be a fan of like the show or anything. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like, you know what? Next week we're canceling. We're talking about that movie.
But the big thing I want to recommend is Echo, the new Marvel show that's on Hulu and Disney Plus. Guys, if Marvel's going to do TV show, this is what they need to do. 5 episodes, 35 to 40 minutes. You're in, you're out. Great show. Great representation with Indigenous Native American people and people with disabilities. The main actress is deaf. And they took a character from the Hawkeye show that was kind of a lame subplot villain and turned her into a badass. And it's a very confined show with the exception of Kingpin, which that's in the trailer. That's no spoiler. I just highly recommend it. So go check out Echo, Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, and go see The Beekeeper in theaters.
What did we talk about last week? I checked out a few. I checked out 2 episodes of Echo. Right now, Zach, I'm just kind of having a hard time latching on to the story. The characters are there, and it's pretty kick-ass so far as just like the surrounding action. But I'm having a hard time just grasping onto the characters. Yeah.
The story of the characters. I think you like the characters. It's just the story that.
It's a story that.
Yeah.
I have dug deep into the Planet of the Apes over the holiday weekend, just kind of getting through the franchise frenzy mode and going through another franchise, and I've selected the Planet of the Apes, all 5 original movies, that disaster of a Tim Burton movie, and then the 3 new ones, where the last 2 are directed by Matt Reeves. I still have 1 more to go. I still have to watch War of the Planet of the Apes, but it's
you watched all of them up to War of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, I just have to watch War. Yeah.
So, out of curiosity, I know obviously we're probably fans of the 3 Andy Serkis ones. How do those hold up to how do those compare to those older ones?
The older ones, I was really, really dreading this watch, and I was really dreading this franchise because I know how the older ones were just kind of, cheesy, sci-fi, cheaply made movies, but the story honestly is there, and whether it be the performances from Rowdy McDowell or that's really the only character and actor who's in all the first 5 movies, but the story of each movie is just honestly really entertaining, so I did not have a problem with any of them. I had more of a problem with the Tim Burton movie than I did anything else. But none of the first 5 movies, if you haven't seen them, I recommend them. If you want to go see, I think they should all be watched before you understand the Andy Serkis movies, because there's so many throwbacks. There's so many just acknowledgments in the new 3 movies that have nothing. They just explode with callbacks to the first 5.
Like they tie it. Like if you care about the original.
I mean, they don't tie in, but they're just acknowledging names, lines, everything. Yeah. So I think they're on. Cool. I don't know what the original 5, if they're even streaming on anything.
I don't know. I know I've seen the original Planet of the Apes with Charlton Heston, and I remember liking it, but I haven't. And I've seen the Tim Burton one, but I haven't seen any of the ones between the original and the Tim Burton one. So
you should, if you do any kind of like getting ready for the new one that comes out in May, I would suggest a little sit down of the original 5. It's pretty fun. Cool. So yeah, I recommend that franchise to anybody. The last 3 I've done is Harry Potter, Terminator, and now the Planet of the Apes. So I'm sure by the time I join you guys next week, I'll have started another franchise. So,
The Maze
what about
Runner.
you? What about you, Ed? What have you kicked off anything? We can't hear you, buddy.
Still on the Vampire Diaries. I think we've transitioned to season 4 now. So we've got a little under 4 seasons left to go. Can't really complain yet about that. We've just been kind of rolling along. Did get to see the new South Park episode that is based off of a popular hydration / energy drink. That was pretty funny. Recommend that to almost anybody except for kids. I do not recommend kids under the age of probably 15, 16 watching that. I mean,
Yeah, you do.
no, bro, no. There is that, but no, really kind of quiet on the Eastern Front over here, man. Yeah, you get to play. Just going through the Vampire Diaries. Probably start originals after it.
If you are curious about the Planet of the Apes movies, the original 5 are streaming on Stars, and then Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is on HBO Max, and
I was about to say, I can't just HBO Max it up with all of them.
I know.
All 9.
Max failed us on this. I know.
There's not 9 of them.
Well, you said the 5 plus Tim Burton plus the other 3.
We don't count Tim Burton anymore.
Okay, so my bad.
You know what I do? That was just looking back at it, since I am talking about that franchise. That's the worst one. The music was there, the concept, the darky feel of it. It just.
You want to know something?
It was a boring story.
I saw that one in the theater. I distinctly remember that. I thought, and obviously you've seen it. Obviously you're more familiar with it now, but I thought Tim Roth was okay in the movie. He's kind of probably the better part of it as the villain ape.
Yeah, him and honestly, I enjoyed Paul Giamatti. Yeah. So, but we'll get into it. I don't know where.
One day.
I don't know where the 2 Matt Reeves movies are going to fit into our schedule, as in the first one, Rise. But I feel like I feel like they have to be talked about before we eventually talk about the new one.
April.
We could do like a Harry Potter film, and since Tom Felton, aka Draco Malfoy, was in that, we can transition right over to that.
Yeah, he was in Rise. Yeah, you're right.
He was one of the best parts about that movie. I can't wait.
It was actually really good. It was cool to see him as a villain, but in another setting,
a different version.
And speaking of future episodes, let's talk about episodes that we talked and had a fun time discussing last year, because now we're going to talk our top 5 favorite episodes that we did of 2023. All right, guys. This week we're talking our top 5 favorite episodes that we discussed last year. It is in that we're on the road to our top 5 movies of 2023, and in that road we have some bumps and we have some stops along the way, and we always talk about the best and worst of 2023. So whether it be movies, TV shows, episodes we did, movies we wish we had talked about, or like next week, we're talking about our top 5 movies that we're most looking forward to in 2024. We always have some kind of lists and best of along the way in that road of top 5 of 2023. So
we keep it punching.
We keep it. I'm going to rapid fire through my top honorable mentions real quick, and then we'll get into the top 5. Episode 274, Scarface. I thought that was a fun conversation. it was a conversation that at first a lot of people didn't want to do. Zach, you weren't looking real happy about talking about Scarface, but it ended up being the complete opposite. You had a fun watch with it, and even fun, more entertaining conversation. And then my official honorable mention, we had special guest Danielle on the episode to talk about houses. We also had Ella joined us for that episode. Zach, you were on the episode as well, and that's episode 272 was Barbie. So that was a fun conversation and a fun rewatch too. So those are my two honorable mentions. Anybody else have any?
I'm not going to.
Nope.
So let's kick it off with you, Zach. What's your number 5?
I'll jump off your honorable mention, Johnny. Barbie. We had just a fun time with that. It was obviously we had to talk about it. It was the biggest movie of 2023 box office wise. We all had something interesting and just fun to say about it. I think all of us agree it's probably one of the best movies of the year. Has a lot of social commentary about it. Great performances from Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling. It was just a really fun episode. It was just one of those episodes that when we do something like that, it's just like, yeah, that's why we do the show. So,
number 5 for me is going to be episode 242, Face Off. we had it was smack dab in the middle of, I think, was that last April already?
Yeah.
Nick Cage month. We discussed John Travolta, Nick Cage. Not only was it like a fun movie to revisit, but it was one of those movies, Zach, I think you'd never seen it. And it was, Craig had wanted to dive back into it. So it's one
April
of those
of last year. Wow.
One of those guilty pleasures. So number 5 for me is 242 Face Off.
That one was fun because I began the episode when you said, "How did you like it, Zach?" I said, "Well, doing this show has but I've had to watch a lot of movies. I'm just like, But and then I did like a 360. It's like I really liked it." So, what about you, Ed?
My number 5 would be number 227, kind of one of the first few episodes of the year last year, Glass Onion. Gotta love that. I like how they're kind of continuing a little bit of the series with LeBlanc, but kind of a fun little whodunit for that matter, clue, if you will, or whatever have you. I thought we had a great conversation. I thought it was great how we were still kind of deciphering where the trail kind of led to, and when we all kind of figured out or got tipped of what it may or may not be, all that good kind of stuff. Because I kind of like to see how we all catch things, whether we do or don't, early or late, whatever. I like to see that, to be honest. So that was one of my more memorable ones.
Zach, what's number 4 for you?
Number 4, one of the last episodes we did of 2023, 275, Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. It was great to finish that franchise up, at least those 3 films. I was really worried that Johnny was like, I know, because of the girthiness of that film, you're like, oh, good Jesus.
I didn't want it to hurt.
Yeah, and I was just so afraid that you're just going to cry the entire time. But it was a fun conversation. I mean, both of us, me and Craig gave it 10. Johnny, I think you gave it like a 9. So overall, I think it was a strong finale for not only that trilogy, but for that franchise that we did. So,
yeah. Number 4 for me is episode 265, The Birds. We had a fun conversation about the birds. We got introduced to Big Mitch, and it was just an overall fun conversation about a classic that kind of kicked off spooky season for us. And it's always fun to talk to you guys about an older movie like that, just to get everyone's different perspective of, not only performances, story, maybe some scares. But The Birds was haunting. It was a fun way to kick off that spooky season. And it's always fun when you can just find something about that old of a movie, like the storyline of Big Mitch, and just kick it off from there. So I'll never watch The Birds the same again.
Thanks, Big Mitch.
Yeah. So that's number 4 for me, episode 265. Ed, what about you?
Number 4 for me, I'm going to go ahead and put The Princess Bride in this. Number 234. Been trying to kind of get that on there for a friend for a while, and finally that friend got to meet up with you and convince you to get it on. So I was really
talking about Big Sexy.
Oh, JB, you know. Yeah, so it was cool to go ahead and finally get that one due after a while, fit it into the schedule, because it's always nice to help out one of our friends out there. So.
That doesn't know how to help out anybody.
Nope, I'm all narcissistic, dog. I'm good
all the way,
all the way, not partly, all the way.
I wasn't on. There was like 6 weeks last year that I took just 6 weeks off, and Ed and Zach and Craig, you guys picked it up and did a great job with it. But Princess Bride was one of the episodes that I was not on. I did watch all the movies you guys talked about. I just wasn't on any of the episodes. And man, I'm glad I was not on the Princess Bride, because I would have shat all over that movie.
Oh,
well,
no.
I mean, I think we've all had some here and there, off and on, every now and then.
Andre the Giant was the size of a house, and he couldn't even save that movie.
Apparently, it killed Inigo Montoya's father, and he said, "Prepare to die." So it was inconceivable.
Zach, number 3 for you.
Number 3, Plain and Simple, our final episode of 2023, our top 5 plus 5 holiday films. Great. It's always fun to do it. Top 5 plus 5. It was fun to see, like, we had similar lists, but the films were different in different spots throughout. So, obviously The Grinch, The Santa Claus, Charlie Brown Christmas. I think
I'm the only
on 34th Street.
I'm the only one who didn't have Elf.
Oh yeah, because John Ed, I think he's the narcissist in this situation.
And I think, wasn't that the episode where it was Ed on the go?
Yeah,
Ed was Ed on the go. Yeah, you're at some coffee place.
He was at a Dutch Brothers.
Dutch Brothers, yeah, that's right. So we talk Christmas. You got Ed on the go. What more do you need from this podcast? So, yeah, that's my number 3.
Ed, the next Ed on the go, you should be at a fucking Burger King.
No,
just munching on a Whopper.
Negative.
DK.
Double meat, double cheese, extra mayo, extra thick cut onion. That's how Ed should do it.
No.
Yeah.
Negative.
Number 3 for me is going to be episode 230. I can't read my own handwriting. I think it's 239, our top 5 plus 5 of 2022. Like Zach said, those are always fun lists to do, but it's really fun when you get to throw in the fun little awards that we do, like favorite actor, favorite actress, the dog shit of the year award. It's fun when we hand these out, and we're doing the same thing in just a few weeks. So April is right around the corner. I think we're doing it this year, the last Wednesday in March, and we're talking our top 5 plus 5. Favorite actor. I think we're also going to have favorite theater experiences that we had this year, like we did that last year.
I have a list of awards, so I'll send them out when we get a little bit closer.
And then the prestigious dog shit of the year award. I can't wait. I can't wait to see what movie gets that.
I already know what mine is. I don't know what you guys' are, but I know what mine is.
So, but yeah, that was my number 3, top 5 of 2022. Ed, what's your number 3?
Number 3, I'm going to go ahead and put Scream 6 in this spot. Visiting that made me want to watch all the other Screams. For some reason, not in the actual order that they go in, but whatever, I guess, on that. So yeah, for like the next week after that, I was visiting the rest of the Screams. Gotta say, it was a lot of fun. Kind of disappointed Jenna Ortega and the other girl won't be in there. But it is what it is. Simple as that. It's how it goes sometimes.
I think the director even's not. I don't think the director is even doing it. So
No.
there may not even be a Scream 7.
He backed out. Watch they get David Gordon Green to come try to do it.
Oh Jesus.
It'll be like a Scooby Doo episode. They take off their ghost face mask and it's an actual ghost or something. It's Matthew Lillard's ghost. Or no, you better Billy Loomis has been in the last 2 as a ghost. He's actually the killer in the next one, but he's a ghost.
He's possessing Matthew Lillard.
Yeah, he's possessing somebody else.
Oh man, I can just smell $1 billion idea.
Number 2, Zach.
Number 2, 263, a film that I think all of us grew up watching. School of Rock. That was a really fun conversation. I think all 3 of us plus Ella and Craig was on the episode, so we all just enjoyed the Jack Blackness of it all. So it was just real fun. It was fun to go back and revisit that for its 20th anniversary. So yeah, definitely go check that episode out.
Number 2 for me is going to be Star Trek episode 254 when we reviewed the 2009 version. That had been a movie that to me, it's my favorite Star Trek movie. And then we finally got to talk about it and we finally had a fun conversation about it. So go back and listen to it. We went in depth and we boldly went where nobody's ever gone before. Episode 254, Star Trek from 2009. Ed, what about you? What's your number 2?
Number 2, I'm going to have to go with episode 250, The Flash. Interesting conversation just because, all the hubbub surrounding this movie, controversy and all that good stuff, as well as everything going on with DC.
It was a good episode. Most of the episodes Ed's picking, if you've noticed, Zach, are the ones that I'm not on this show.
I know.
Dude.
I think it's a trend.
No. I mean, not because you're not on it, just, dude, for some reason, a lot of the ones before...
which of these episodes is the fucker not on? Let me find out.
A lot of them are just kind of ones that I had fun on. I mean, honestly, or
and there's
movies
some of them are movies you've been wanting to talk about for a long time. We just never got to.
There's one more. I think it's your number 1, but there's one more that you haven't mentioned yet. But I'm pretty sure that's your number 1. But I'll be surprised if it isn't.
Number 2 for you, Zach, or 1?
Number 1, number 260, a film that, like Ed, we always have these movies we always want to talk about. We finally got to talk about Public Enemies this year in 2023. Loved it. The conversation was real fun. We not only we talked about the movie, we also talked about how in today's world or in today's Hollywood, why those type of films don't get made now. Just very fun. I think all of us really enjoyed the film, so it's always good that we can have a good conversation also like the film as well. So yeah, number 1 is Public Enemies, my favorite episode we did last year.
Number 1 for me is just because of how diverse the conversation was, and that's what always is what's fun for me, is 269 when we talked to me. Everybody, that was one of the movies where somebody liked it, somebody loved it, somebody thought it was good, somebody thought it was okay, and then I think you thought it wasn't your cup of tea, but it was just a fun, in-depth conversation because of all the different scenarios that was involved, the performances, and then we just, we had an overall fun, diverse conversation, and those ones always stick out to me. Those are always the most fun movies to talk about when we all have something different to say about it. So that's number 1 for me. Talk to Me, episode 269. Ed, finish us off. What was your favorite episode from last year?
This one is kind of a pretty cool episode that I was really, really hoping for a while. It is on Peacock, Tubi, Pluto, Sling, if I'm not mistaken. It's got an 8 out of 10. It is brought to you by Richard Kelly, and Donnie Darko.
There it is.
I've been excited about this movie. It is the hell. It gone dark over there. Is Frank coming out? It's pretty much my favorite movie.
I thought you were going to say Passion of the Christ.
That is one that I'm going to leave on that episode and go from there.
Those have his favorite cutscenes.
You nailed that one to the board. But Donnie Darko is one of my favorite movies, if not my favorite movie. I've been waiting for a while to talk about that one as well. So I was very, very happy to get that. And yeah.
You know, we joke about that, but The Passion of the Christ was actually an interesting episode in the fact that, you know, that was definitely a film that had a very social cultural hype behind it, and it just it was actually kind of interesting to go back and rewatch that all these years later.
It'll be nailed into my mind forever. It was a fun movie. But today we're talking about Goodwill Hunting. On IMDb, it has an 8.3, Rotten Tomatoes a 97%. On the Metascore, it has a 71%. With a $10 million budget, it grossed a little over $225 million at the box office, with a release date of December 5th, 1997. Starring Robin Williams, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Stellan Skarsgård, Casey Affleck, Cole Hauser, directed by Gus Van Sant, written by Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. Nominated for 9 Oscars, it won 2. Let's dig into it. Zach, we'll start with you. Do you remember the first time you seen Goodwill Hunting? And if not, what was it like revisiting it for the episode?
Damn. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really remember the first time I saw it. I think the first time I saw it in its entirety was probably after Robin Williams had passed, which was 2014.
God damn,
I just like I said, I may have seen it before then, but that's the first time I remember seeing it in its entirety. I liked it. This time around, I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, I think the older I get with films, I really enjoy good dialogue and good monologues and a great screenplay, which this definitely has. Performances all around are incredible, and yeah, we'll get into the story, but yeah, I really, really enjoyed it on this rewatch.
Ed, what about you? Do you remember the first time you seen it? Is this the first watch for the movie?
Similar to Zach, this is the first complete watch. I've seen several different scenes of it. A little bit, I even confused this with the, the one Robin Williams film where he taught a whole class about...
Oh, Dead Poet Society.
Yes, DPS. But yeah, this is my first complete watch of Goodwill Hunting. So.
I've seen this probably a handful of times. I think my first time watch was when I was working at FYE. You know, you work at a place like that, and everybody, all of the coworkers, is like, "Oh, you got to check this out. You got to buy this." So I've probably seen this 5 or 6 times since 2008, probably. So, but let's dig into it. It's a very easy. It's not very complex kind of story to get involved with.
It's complex as hell. It's got all this math, bro.
Will Hunting, a janitor at MIT, has had a gift for mathematics, but needs help from a psychological standpoint to find direction in his life. You know, the basics is you get involved with Will Hunting. He is so caught up in just keeping his life easy, normal. He surrounds himself with friends that he has. He's in his comfort zone. He doesn't want to get out of his box. Little Orphan Annie story, almost where he surrounds himself with his 3 friends, played by Ben Affleck, Casey Affleck, and Cole Hauser.
The retarded gorillas, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He, and he's just comfortable.
What? That's what he said. That's what they say.
I know, but it's just like,
but he lives in his, he lives in his safe box. Almost
Yeah.
like he doesn't want to do anything extra. He has an attitude problem. He has
He's
a
wicked smart.
he has a big he problem, and I think that's where my problem lied in this movie. Watching it, probably this is the first time I've watched it since the podcast and its inception, which is different. It's the first time that I've watched the movie, sat down and really dissected it.
With a critical mind, yeah.
Yeah, and even though it was nominated 9 times, it won twice. People praise it for the performances of Robin Williams, which is true. I just had a character problem with Will Hunting in this movie. I still think it's a good movie, but I think looking back at the movies that were nominated for Best Picture and just nominated that year, L.A. Confidential, Goodwill Hunting, The Full Mountie, As Good as It Gets, and Titanic. Like, where are the other movies from that year? Like, first off, that's a short list. The movie that won definitely deserved to win. But I'm just like, man, there must not have just been a big list at all that year.
Yeah, that was still back in the day where they were just doing like 5 nominations. Nowadays, it's like 8 to 10. So nowadays, the Oscars has much more range of what they nominate. But yeah, I agree. I think out of those 5, obviously Titanic is the clear winner in that category.
But going back to Will Hunting, like the movie itself, I think it's a good story arc. Yeah, like you said, one of the performances that nobody really talks about is Stellan Skarsgård in the movie. I think he's tremendous. He plays the professor who puts the first 2 problems up on the board and doesn't really think anybody's going to solve them. But Will Hunting just sitting there like a fucking wicked smart monkey, and he just fills out the board. And do you think they overplayed the whole Boston accent in the movie? You think it was too strong for you guys? What'd you think?
Never being to Boston, I'm not 100% sure. I do have friends that are from Boston.
We'll call one of them up right now. Let's get him on the phone. Call him.
But his accent had a few tinges on that. Kind of like that, but I mean, it's more just kind of some words would hit. But other than that, it wasn't really discernible as in, yeah, this guy's from fucking Boston. It was just like, oh, okay. Are you? Yeah. No. But
well, I think it's amazing, honestly, as far as their accents go. Matt Damon, wrote the first 40, 50 pages of the movie, then turned it over to Ben Affleck and Bill. Ben finished it off, and they wrote this when they were in college together. I think that Matt Damon said he started writing this in 1991. It is fascinating to see that this is the movie that kick-started both of their careers together. Yeah. But I think the biggest memorable thing about this movie for me is the guy in the middle. Robin Williams' performance is probably, some say it's the best of his career. It's the one that got him the hardware. But what do you say, Zach? What do you think going into some of the movie? Did you think it was overhyped?
No, I'm gonna be honest. There were parts of this movie I absolutely before Will Hunting meets Sean Maguire, Robin Williams' character. I absolutely did not remember none of that earlier stuff. I did not remember Skyler. I don't remember him going through like 5 different psychologists because they didn't want to deal with his attitude and him not being taken the serious matter. I remember him like figuring out the problem on the board, and like everyone was just like who did that, and him flipping off the professor saying like
screw you, leave me alone.
Exactly. But to answer the question about the Robin Williams thing, I do think this is like by far his best performance. I mean, obviously, you have your favorites like Jumanji and all that, and obviously we'll get into some of those as the year goes on. But this one, I think out of everything that I've seen of his, this is the one he definitely deserved the Oscar for. So, and the thing about this film is that this film had like no backing whatsoever. But when Robin Williams came on board, he gave up his like salary for the film, and that's essentially how the film got made. Well, essentially.
Well, he should ask for the salary back. It's a good movie, but I just had an issue with like I think it when it comes down to all the awards and all the the credentials that it's won and been talked about. I just think I'm like, really, a movie about a troubled kid who is supposedly smart, but he's not smart enough to dig himself out of the hole that he's living in, or yet he finds a really good girl and he's not smart enough to see that she's willing to do and trust him, and he just continues to lie about his 12 brothers. He doesn't want to take her to the hole in the wall apartment. He doesn't. And then there's a scene where she's telling him she loved him, and she just wants, she's like, "You want to go to California with me?" And then he just starts
crazy.
He starts going crazy, and he's got that little fucking, I don't know, it's just he's got the vein popping out of his neck. "I don't fucking love you. I don't love you." Then he gets out and he looks like he's gonna hit the wall and break the wall. To me, it's just the character Will Hunting is just a no good little bastard.
I think he's just a person that.
I think at the end of the day, that's just how the character's written. Obviously, I mean, you have to build a kind of a suspense of like, why is this character the way he is, and obviously by the end of the film, you get a clear cut answer of it, and it makes sense. But it didn't bother me just because I just it bothers me like when he's like being a little pissant to Robin Williams, but Robin Williams puts him in his place. It's like, look, I think that's why that bench scene at the park is so good. Is like, listen, you can read all the books you want, you can tell me everything, quote me Shakespeare all day long, but you have no fucking idea what life is like. You have never even been out of Boston. You have no idea what it's like to love someone. You have no idea what it's like to be in a war.
Smell what the Sistine Chapel, or tell me what the Sistine Chapel smells like. That was just like, damn.
But that's like that's why everyone references that scene. It's written so well. The performances are so good. You root for Robin Williams to say like, "Hey, shut the hell up. You know nothing." And just, I understand you're smart, but you're not smart enough to know what the real world's like.
Basically, what he's saying is, you have a lot of knowledge, you don't have a lot of experience.
Yeah,
Junior.
Or even the scene where they're in the bar and he's talking to him about the Boston game where he gave up his playoff ticket for the girl.
Yeah. And that
I gotta go see about a girl.
Which is that's a thread that they pay off at the end of the movie, which is, obviously that's good writing. But that's also, if you've seen a lot of what Robin Williams' stand-up, he's acting, his performance is good in that, but he's also doing some of his like comedic chops that he knows how to do, like performance-wise and like impersonations and stuff like that. It's just, that's another great scene. The big monologue scenes are probably some of the best. That's why you watch this movie.
Yep.
Honestly,
what do you think about what do you think about Chucky, played by Ben Affleck? And then you got Casey Affleck in there. Zach, I bet you forgot that you were going to see old Cole Hauser in that movie.
I was wondering if you're going to catch Rip in the movie. So yeah. I think obviously Chucky is like, they focus more on Chucky than Billy and Morgan. Essentially, Billy and Morgan are just kind of like standby characters, like the C characters. You're just kind of like, oh yeah, there's part of the crew. But Chucky
they got good monologues too.
Yeah, Chucky, the one where it's Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. So I saw a comment is like, Matt Damon, Will's the intelligence, but Chucky's the wisdom of saying, look, again, another great monologue scene of like, you're too much of a little bitch to cash in your life check, and that's bullshit. I know my life. I'm gonna be here for the next 50 years. I'm okay with that, but you don't need to be here. You need to get out of here while you still can.
Yeah.
So, I've been going on. What do you think about it, Ed?
I mean, honestly, you kind of hit a lot of it on the nail on the head, for that matter. so you've got Papa Skarsgård, or Stellan Skarsgård, coming through and seeing this kid, kind of like what he was talking about in the monologue with Robin Williams' character Sean. This is a rare once in a generation raw intelligence, for that matter. God, I forget what he was quoting for that matter, but he was talking about the guy 100 years before that, and all that found the same, and he wanted to work with him, and ended up working with him for years. And I mean, that's kind of the same thing here. He gone on with the first problem and was like, this is something that if you solve it, will get you here and get you published here and do all this and all that. And I've got an award because of it and all this and all that. And then he goes on and no one knows still. And the second one is just like, man, who solved that first? Will definitely have a hard time with this. And I don't know how long of a period of time between those two it was, but within 72 hours, we'll say, we'll solve both equations. Mm-hmm. So meeting with that, and it's like, okay, what kind of person is this? And then you see the janitor messing with it, and you're like, who are you? Goes on and you guys and all that, and it's just like, okay, meets, and yeah, it goes from a kid with a potentially exhausting, attitude, but with an extremely high intelligence quotient.
And they don't even
like, dude, is this worth it?
Yeah, we haven't even touched on the you kind of touched on it, but the little friendly rivalry between Sean and Lambo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, even in that, you see when he's loyal to you in the bar scene when he first meets
Sean.
No, damn it, I always forget. When he first meets her in the bar scene and he's going,
Skylar
coming up to kind of not make fun of him, but back him off of his friends. He's like, okay, you've quoted that from this book, you've learned that from this book, but
yeah.
You what are you going to recite the whole thing for us? What are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily to look good, but it's for loyalty. It's to be an a-hole, but at the same time, like, show him up.
I don't like the way those apples sound.
But so once you have that guy's loyalty, he's very, very loyal to you, and that's kind of what one of his breaking points is. It's not necessarily a bad, not necessarily a good thing, but for him as a deep well of information, his experience, if he kept on with the same path, would not excel at all. So,
But I think that's why Will ultimately learns to trust Robin Williams' character Sean, is that he finally came across someone that he's not going to put up with his bullshit all the time and be like, no, I need you to tell me I need you to tell me a real answer, not like a hide behind the wall answer.
Well, someone that challenges him, and not only challenges him, but is able to go ahead and get on the same level of intelligence and spit back the exact same shit that he spits. So it's just like, you're on my level, but in a different way.
And to bounce off that, being on the same level, not only intelligent-wise and smart-assness, but emotionally. Because at the end of the day, these are two people that have experienced the same trauma. And Sean knows exactly what Will has went through. He said, like he says, you think I know the first thing about you being an orphan because I've read Oliver Twist? That's true, yeah. But when they start talking about the abuse part of it, he talks about his dad, him having
his stepdad, like putting cigarettes out on him and stuff. Yeah.
Well, that's why Professor Gerald gone to him. Stellan's character gone to him is because he's like, okay, you're from the same area. You are who you are. You are what you are. I know who you are. Let's see if you can break this kid. And when you first walk upon Sean, in his classroom, one of the first things he's talking about is if you can do this, you can gain trust. What is trust good for? Kids like, oh, it's life or death. In a way, yes, but it's just like it's more than that. It's not just life or death. It's a lot more than that. Because if you can gain something's trust, say a dog, that dog may be the most loyal thing to you that you will ever have in your entire life. Or, that dog can rip your face off if you piss it off too much. I mean,
well, that ties into the other scene where Sean gets to the point where he's done hearing his bullshit, and he says, "What do you want to do?" And he says, "I want to be a shepherd." And he's like, "You know what? If you want to go jack off, just go do it with the moist towel." And he just asks a very simple question: "What do you want to do?" And Will just can't do it. And it's a very it's a defense mechanism. Once Will feels like he's being betrayed, he uses everything he knows about you against you. Yeah. And it doesn't affect Robin Williams as Sean character, because he's just like, you know what? I may have lost my wife, but you know what? At least I played a hand in life. What can you say?
I don't know if you can say it doesn't affect him, because in that scene on the bench the first time, it affects him quite a bit a couple of days before that, because he's up, reliving a bit of grieving, for that matter.
You're talking about Sean?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. No, but I'm talking about by that point, he's so familiar with Will and the way he operates. It's just like, I don't know how to defeat you, but I know how to shield myself against your
he knows how to use his bullshit against him, basically, simply because you are a child and you know a lot. That's true. You can deduce a lot, and you have good cognitive skills as well as deduction skills. But at the same time, you are still just a child. I will go ahead and out myself because I don't care. I've lived through this. You haven't. You've lived through some trauma, but at the same time, don't think you know me. Yeah. You know me from a painting. You know a scratch of my surface, not the engine.
Exactly.
So towards the end of the movie, I mean, you see Will, he does the whole, got to go see about a girl. And even Ben Affleck is like, the highlight of my day is coming and knocking on your door and hoping and praying that you've, taken your stuff and you've left this piece of shit town without even telling me, because at least I know that you've had the guts to go and do and live your life.
That line hits so hard for me. I don't know what it is about it. I think it's just the idea of, because
it's because Ben Affleck is so good.
Do you want to leave this piece of shit town and actually experience your life, sir?
A little bit. It's the idea. It's the idea of the way I go to work. I go through downtown and I bypass the Amtrak train station. Over there by Paycom
downtown and all. Yeah.
And there's just when he says, for the best part of my day is that 10 seconds from the getting out of the car to your porch. And, I just think just maybe you are going to do something with your life. And my personal experience is always that, what if I don't go to work today? What if I just hop the train and go to Dallas, or, just ride the train? So, this is one of those things that, you take your life is so precious, and it's just like, don't waste it. You want to do something that you want to do, whether it just be take the day off or, hang out with your kids or, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But something that the movie, surfaces about and plays with you a lot about is like, we're all so afraid of just taking that small what if. Even if right now I wanted to call in and just enjoy my night and enjoy this part of my life and not have to worry about work tonight. There's still that what if, what's the repercussion going to be if I did something selfish for myself? And the movie just teases that so much and just makes you wonder, what is Will going to do? Or even Will confesses to Sean, like, Sean, what would you have done different? Or did you want to do anything different? It's just, honestly, sometimes that's the sucky part of life.
And that's the great dialogue of the baseball scene where he's talking about how he met his wife. It's like, that's why I'm not sitting here talking to you about a girl that I wish I'd said something in a bar. I missed the game because I was a man and admired by her, and I wanted to know more about her. Screw the game. You could do that any day of the week. But
And I mean, he is talking about a girl at that time, but he's not just talking about a girl. He's talking about anything in life for that matter.
Yeah,
whether a
yeah.
career, whether an aspiration, whether a hobby, or whatever. Because I mean, you can even say this thing right here. What if one, you never came to me with this idea, and you never was like, "Hey, man, you want to come on to this? What do you feel about this?" What if you never said that? Zach, what if you never called him and said, "Hey, is this?" And he was like, "No, this is this." But yeah, what if I never said, "Yeah, let's do it, man. Sounds kind of cool. I think we
What
could
if
go
I
somewhere."
never had a dream?
What if you never collected those movies behind you? I mean, honestly.
I'd be
They're-
sitting in a $120,000 home.
Yeah.
Possibly a $210,000 home, like it's but at the end of the day, it's kind of like a lot of what keeps me here is closeness with some family, closeness with a few friends, at least for that matter, like you guys. You're kind of split between that, but it there's just a lot that goes on in everybody's life, and whether you know that, whether you don't, whether you know how I feel about any and everyone on this podcast, it doesn't matter. What matters is now how you're doing things and what you're trying to do going forward from there, because this is essentially just a movie about life. It's essentially just a movie about potential.
Yeah,
for that matter.
And this is kind of going off rant or whatever. Has anyone had a friend like Will Hunting where they had so much potential but they just wasted it, or they're wasting it? You're just like, God damn it, dude! What are you doing?
No.
Yes and no. I mean, I think some people see more in others a lot than they see in themselves. I think that because don't get me wrong, Zach, I might see you in one light, and you might be 100% different in your own head. It's all about POV. It's all about perception. Same with you, Juan.
Those are good videos, the POV videos.
Yeah, well, I think that's a good mindset. It's a good thing to look, because don't get me wrong, in the three of us, only one of us is the father. You see life through a different lens right now. We see it through a different lens, for that matter.
Yeah, get that out of your mouth.
Those are technically kidnapped kids, but whatever.
I got spaghetti put in my pocket yesterday. Little dude was saving it for later.
Never had that experience.
Did you get to work and find that, or you're just like, ugh, what is this?
No, I was sitting there on the couch on the chair, and the dog just started going ham on my pocket. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing? There's little spaghetti noodles in my pocket.
But, it's like I said, it's all just a movie about perception, a movie about potential, a movie about don't waste your life doing for others. Find how you are, who you are, what you are.
I had a high school English teacher who he was very smart. Like he really could have been like a lawyer. He was pre-med for a while, and then or pre-law. He was pre-law. He could have been a doctor. He could have just been anything.
I know somebody like that.
He decided to be a high school teacher because he liked English. He liked teaching kids, and that. I think while you do, this movie is about potential. You also have to find what satisfies you in life, or what keeps you going as a person. Will doesn't want to be locked in a room for 8 hours a day doing long division. I get that. That sounds boring as hell, but that's what he's good at, so he should do that.
Or it's not really just that, for that matter. I would say come up with something different. Come up with what you're good with, combine it with something else that you can potentially benefit from, potentially go forward from, and maybe make a lot of money off of. Because at the end of the day, you're in control of your life, and you need to find out what your niche is.
Somebody, a great wise man, once told me that our potential is endless. So I guess I'll just leave it there at that. Favorite scene?
Pretty much any of the monologue sequences or scenes.
No, you have to pick one.
anything with Robin Williams. The park bench scene is probably the standout of the scene, and I'll go with that one. And the Ben Affleck, him and Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, they're just talking about how he should, he needs to use his full potential, because I don't get that option as a person. So
I would pick the scene where they go into the Harvard bar and he meets
Harvard.
Yeah, and he Ben Affleck goes up and tries to pick up the Harvard chicks, but Matt Damon does his thing. He ends up getting the phone number. How about them apples? And then probably my other favorite scene will be where he talks about the painting, and then he's like, "Oh, well, what about your wife? Did she leave you?" And then Robin Williams grabs him by the throat and he's like,
Chokeholds him. Yeah.
You disrespect again, I will fucking end you. Got that, Chief? So those are probably my two standout scenes. Ed, what about you?
The bench scene, man. I mean, don't wrong. There's so many good things. There's so many good monologues, but at the same time, that bench scene is a very, very standout scene. If I had to pick a number 2, I would go ahead and go with the first meeting between masterminds, if you will, Sean and Will.
Yep.
So
I think I was gonna pick the bench scene too, but I just to be different, I selected those two. But it sounds like we all love the bench park scene. So if you guys have not seen the movie and you don't feel like sitting through a 2-hour and 10-minute movie, do yourself a favor and at least just YouTube the park bench scene from Goodwill Hunting. If anything, that's all you need to see when it comes to this movie. If you don't feel like sitting through it, just watch that 10-minute scene. And you'll see. I believe that's the scene that won Robin Williams his Oscar. So,
I will kind of go off and say that scene is just as impactful and powerful as the one from Denzel Fences.
Watch your mouth.
I'll say it, man. I don't need to wash my mouth out of nothing. You know what I'm saying, dog? But no, I'm just kidding. I will say that I think that's as powerful of a scene for that matter. Not because of Robin Williams passing.
As Robin Williams is.
5.3. Yep.
I will go on record at saying I don't think any scene Robin Williams has ever done in his entire life would equal up to that Denzel Washington.
I don't know, man. From Flubber, there was a lot of good stuff in that one.
Flubber.
From Flubber, like, bro.
We're talking about that. We're talking about that in April, so get ready.
Fences again, yeah. Fences conversation part 2. That's fun. That's always fun to talk about. Zach, star rating.
Man, performance wise, screenplay wise, monologue wise, it may come down the more I think about it, but as of right now, I'm gonna give it a 9. Really like this movie on this rewatch. So,
it was a good rewatch. I enjoyed the performances really, really well. The 2 hours and 10 minutes kind of flew by at times. Character development, payoff. I just don't know if I'm going to enjoy the rewatchability again. Like, I don't know if I'm going to pick this up anytime soon. So, on rewatchability wise, other than the bench scene, I don't see very much memorization to this movie. I'm going to give it an 8. Still very, very highly thought of. Robin Williams knocks it out of the park. So 8 stars for me. Ed, what about you?
I'm going to go ahead and align. I'm going to give it an 8. Awesome movie. You can't go wrong with at least seeing this once in your lifetime. It's very, very good, very, very passionate. You can see that this was a film that somebody did care about. So, yeah.
And if you don't have it on physical copy or hard copy, Zach, you can check this out. Where at?
You can check it out on Max. HBO Max is up.
What are you doing, sir?
I don't know. You tell me.
I don't know, sir. I'd love to know, sir.
I don't know.
So, yeah, check it out. You can, like Zach said, HBO Max it up and go watch it. Or if you don't feel like watching the 2 hour and 10-minute scene, go check out the bench scene on YouTube. Highly, highly recommend it. But as far as next week goes, guys, it's a 34-year-old movie this year. we're talking about Edward Scissorhands,
What?
one of the highly decorated Johnny Depp movies that we have yet to talk about. So next week, while we're still kind of in a winter wonderland, we're going to talk Edward Scissorhands. The week after that, the final Wednesday in January, we are talking A Good Person. This was Zach's pick, January 31st.
That's the movie that I was holding up.
February 7th, for Zach's birthday, he selected Casablanca. So, Ed, if you had to rewatch this, blame it on Zach. February 14th, Valentine's Day, we're talking A24's Past Lives. February 21st, we're talking the sci-fi sensation from 2023, The Creator. And then February 28th, we're talking Killers of the Flower Moon on the last Wednesday in February. So
It's a packed month.
real packed. Other than that, guys, do you have anything you want to, finalize with Goodwill Hunting, Zach? Ed, anything before we knock it out?
Is that the golden snitch? Oh, Harry Potter reference. No, I agree with you. I mean, I definitely would go check out Goodwill Hunting. But if you don't want to do the 2 hours and 10 minutes, just watch any of the monologue scenes. They're all on YouTube, and just witness some good acting. Listen to the great scripts. It's quite fun. Next weekend, Edward Scissorhands. I've never seen it, so it'll be a first time watch. So,
Really?
Yep. Tim Burton and old Johnny Depp. So we shall see.
I wonder how you.
Ed, what about you? Do you have anything final for Goodwill Hunting, and what's your thoughts next week?
Not really. I mean, don't waste your potential. Be a good person to each other, though. Simple as that, man. Be a good person to your kids. So, next week, looking forward to it. Haven't seen it in at least, probably 7, 8 years, somewhere in that area. So, yeah, Johnny Depp, always got to love him.
Next week, Edward Scissorhands, episode 280. We also talk our top 5 movies that we are most looking forward to in 2024.
Mm-hmm. Edward Scissorhands is on Max, so go max it up.
Go max it up, watch Edward Scissorhands, and get ready to let us know what movies you're most looking forward to as we talk top 5 next week again, right here on another new episode of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. Edward Scissorhands next week, guys.